Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, coaches, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to the needs of you, the practicing natural therapist. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite-Sized Podcast. So I also have a YouTube channel. I don't know if you knew, and if you are on the YouTube channel, here you are watching me. It's been a while since I recorded into Zoom so that I had the video. I've been on the go and I've been using an app that I use to record. So I thought, let's change it up a bit and let's have a few videos going in there. So, depending how you're feeling, what you want to watch or listen to, there's a podcast if you're listening to me now, but there is also the YouTube channel, Mentoring with Geraldine. So how are we all going? So our series for April, I've got a number of things coming up for you. And today I wanted to look at, moving through the business space. So, starting out as that practitioner, developing those skills, thinking about, is this modality right for me? Do I need to add a modality? What do I need to change? And then moving into that mentorship space and into that teacher educator space, which not everybody wants to do. Totally cool. Not everybody wants to be a practitioner. They finish uni and they go, oh, this isn't actually what I signed up for. This is really stressful. So let's think about that journey because, if you're right at the beginning, then you're thinking about your journey. You're thinking about, am I going to have my own business? Am I going to work with somebody else? What space am I going to be in? So when we start with that journey, we start at uni or we start at college and then move on to uni. And which is a great way of doing it, to start in a college and then to do a complementary medicine degree, because then you get, a really broad selection of knowledge and it's going to be slightly cheaper. Most degrees are now costing practitioners around $70,000. And of course, with HECS now, attached to base rate to CPI, it's going to go up. It's going to be unaffordable. So we've got to think of alternative pathways to get into this industry, I think. And when we think about what sort of practitioner am I going to be? So we need to think about that niche. What niche am I going to be in? What do I like? And I don't know what I like. I like lots of things. That's great. Remember, know what you don't like and make sure you're not accidentally advertising to the group that you don't want to see because you don't like that problem. You're not interested in that problem. You don't want to do any additional research into that problem, whatever it may be. Okay. So when we're right at the beginning, we have to think, number one, our education. What education do we need to do the job? What education is going to take us from here to where we want to be? And where is this available from? So you might all, you're looking on the social media feeds, aren't you? And it's saying, become a herbalist for $12 and things like this. Now, that isn't going to cut it. That isn't going to work. You're going to need more education than that. So don't even waste your $12 or your $100. It's going to take a lot more work than that. You do in Australia have to, for GST and for your tax and to get insurance, then you need to have a standard of education that's accredited by education standards. So let's really think about that beginning pathway. It might be that you get a $12 thing because you've never done anything before, and that might be how you got into it because you paid for that $12, whatever it was, on Groupon, something terrible. And you went through it and you went, hey, actually, this is a lot of fun. I'm going to take it to the next level. So we find what practitioner we want to be. We might want to not have our own clients, not work one-to-one with people. Might start out there, everyone in college has to. You have to have people come in to see you, but you might discover that's not for you and that you want to work with groups, and that although you're enjoying naturopathy, there's something missing for you. So I know a number of people who have, well, like myself. So I did naturopathy, nutrition, and herbalism in college. Then I went to Charles Sturt and I did the complementary medicine degree. I then did a number of different modalities. I tried out lots of different things. I did kinesiology, which didn't really work for me. I did another couple of things I can't remember off the top of my head. I then did the coaching course, which I probably should have done whilst I was a practitioner. Now I have a coaching course, and that is only a couple $100, because we do need to understand that. Because as an ex-nurse, I started out as a nurse, I was really used to telling people what to do. I was like, do this, do that, off you go, bye. I'm never going to see them again, right? So it's up to them. They then go to their GP, and maybe they would or wouldn't do, or the nurse at the practice, and maybe they would or wouldn't do what I told them. But I didn't have time to be anything but directive. And that meant it was up to the person to do those things when they got home. And of course, I wasn't giving them any lifestyle advice, any nutritional advice. I was saying, take this tablet 3 times a day, go see your GP, here's your discharge letter, bye. Okay, make sure that wound is wrapped, come back into this department, that department, whatever it is. But it was always, here's the stuff, go away, see you soon, or I won't see you again. So I needed that coaching course because I needed to change how I behaved in clinic, rather than saying to people, go do this, that, and the other thing, you got to eat, green vegetables you've never eaten before, bye, go do it, with no other support. Not the best way of doing things. So I had to learn to speak to people. I mean, I was already nice, at least I think I was nice, but I wasn't as able in that area as I could have been. Okay, so I did that coaching course, which I probably should have done way, way, way at the beginning. Then, but if you're already qualified, doing a full coaching course, you probably don't need it. Then, I did the kinesiology. I did something else as well. Can't remember what it was. Anyway, whatever it was, didn't use it clearly. Then I did hypnosis, and I did a hypnotherapy course. Now that was actually a really long, intensive 1-year course. There was a lot involved in doing it, and it's quite hard to join the Australian Hypnotherapist Association. So you know that if your person has joined that, then they've gone through all those hurdles. They're not just an American Hypnosis Association, which tends to be more weekend course situation. So I went through all of these things to find who I was and what I wanted to do. If I'd thought about it a bit better, right back at the beginning, and planned it a bit more sensibly, then it probably would have cost me a lot less. All right. So I'm doing all of these things. And then I've been a practitioner for 9 years or something or other. And I met somebody I knew through the Herbal Association. And I said, what are you up to? And she said, I'm lecturing. I was like, how do you do that? So that was kind of my next step. Here I was already speaking in public. I was working in Adelaide. We have the WEA, the Workers' Education Association, I think it's called. And so I was already giving lectures there to the public. And I'd given other, short lectures to other public groups in libraries and things like that. I'd been on the radio. I'd done a few things already. But I saw her and I was like, how do I do that? She said, you have to be qualified for 10 years to lecture. Now, you don't need to be qualified for 10 years to lecture. You do need a good few years, though, of business and running your own business. And that's what you find in a lot of the colleges. If you ask people, what's your business? How many clients do you see a week? Who are you seeing? You'll quickly discover that lots of those lecturers, they're not really interested in their own business. That's a sideline. Whereas I was juggling the two. I knew how many clients I could have a week, how many I wanted to have. And I knew that I wanted to lecture and teach because I'd already been doing it. So when an advert came out in Facebook, somebody posted, I run Facebook groups, as hopefully you know, Strictly Practitioners and Strictly Education and Support. I hope you're a member if you're qualified, Strictly Practitioners. If you're not qualified yet or you're allied health, it's Strictly Education and Support. So I run those, and somebody posted, hey, we've got jobs going in Adelaide for lecturers. If you're up for it, send us your CV. So I was on holiday. I was lying on a sofa in somewhere beautiful up in Queensland, and I was lying on a beautiful sofa in a beautiful home that a friend had rented, and totally unlike the one I had rented around the corner. And so I was lying on her sofa while she had my children. I had her children either the day before or the day after, I can't remember, but we had a day without children. That was my day without children. So I'm lying on her sofa in her beautiful rental house attached to the Peppers Resort and all the rest of it. And there I was lying there, scrolling as you do, thinking, oh, what shall I do with my whole day to myself? I shouldn't be lying on the sofa, that's for sure, but what shall I do with my day? And this post came up. So I messaged and said, hey, I can do that. They said, send your CV. I said, well, I haven't got one. I work for myself. Who am I going to work for? So think about that as well. Not only are you working out your CPE and CPD points and adding those immediately as soon as you've done them to your association website or to where that, or you're collating them in maybe a G drive or something. Not only are you doing that, you're also collating that CV at the same time, all right, and keeping that up to date, because these opportunities just like that come up totally randomly. Anyway, I didn't have a CV, and I said, I haven't got a CV, but what I have got, and it is somewhere on YouTube, I haven't taken it down, is me with long hair years ago, walking around my office, pointing at my certificates and pointing to, does that one have it? No, that's the degree. Where's one that has it for the people on the on YouTube? So those ones up there, you can't quite see the corner. If I just turn it ever so slightly, you can see there you go, in the very corner of the screen up there, that's an Austudy triangle. So there I was walking around my office on this YouTube video, pointing to all of the recognized symbols. So that APRA symbol, because I was a nurse, all of these things, right? The associations and what should be on these association things, what these stamps mean. So I was like, well, I haven't got a CV, but I have got a YouTube video showing me doing this. So here's the link. So they were like, yep, totally. We can see that you can lecture, you can talk online, please come in. So I went in and got the job, and they were still like, we need a CV. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have to do that. Gratefully, it turned out to be a fill in the form thing on the website. So I didn't actually ever need a CV. I have got one now, but I didn't really need one. So, here I was, I'd made that next move. I'd kept an eye out. I'd been looking around. I was doing other things. I was already doing group work. I was already lecturing and teaching, which is something I really enjoy. And that might not be for you. And mentoring in that way might not be what you want to do. But you might have a very specialized area. Perhaps it's skin or gut or something, a very specialized, small, niched area that other people are working in as well. And so you can teach that one thing because you know it so well. You have all the up-to-date knowledge on it. You've done all of the things, and you're really good at explaining things, and you're able to help other people. You don't say words or lines like, as you know, because no, we don't know. That's why we're here, love. And oh, of course, and these sort of little lines that put people on edge. We have to be careful with the words we use to encourage people to keep listening and keep learning and not turn them off, right? So there I'd gone into lecturing and teaching. And then at the same time, students came up to me, oh, Geraldine, will you go through this with me? Will you go through this case with me? And students were coming to my office. So you pay for an appointment and you come with your files and you'd sit down and we go through your clients, right? Because that's how I did it with my mentor, right? But then we started going online. And so I'm like, well, same prices apply. If it's an hour for me with a client, it's the same as an hour for you with me. Hopefully never more than what it's going to cost you to see a client. Okay, and that's why we can normally fit more than one into half an hour. And I have groups where people talk about their clients and go through. So it's cheaper for them. It's the cost of a client, for the month. And that way everybody gets time, we get community. So I've developed these mentoring groups, and this is just progression. So right back wherever you are now, if you're right back at the beginning, you're still, first or second year, or you've qualified, it doesn't matter what you're doing, sit down and really think about what is the future. I do have a visualization to help you visualize the future. So, and I will link it in the show notes, obviously with all visualizations. And I think there's a podcast visualization as well. Remember, with all of those sorts of things, we have got our eyes closed. So you mustn't be operating machinery. Just thought I'd put that in there now. But let's think about what is the trajectory of what I do? What are the bits that I enjoy doing the most? How do I like sharing my knowledge if I'm going to go from practitioner to mentor or practitioner to lecturer? what sort of sharer am I? Am I like the real sciencey sharer? And so that's the information I like to share and how I like to share it. Or, do I like standing in front of a class of people or being online? What is it that I really enjoy? And it might not be mentoring, it might not be teaching, but there will be something else. Maybe what you want to do is manufacture some products. So how can you learn about that? I've got a podcast with Jennifer, probably about 20 ago, where she talks about getting in, making your own product and making sure that you can do it. So Brad McHugh and I talked to him about manufacturing. So it might be you want to manufacture, but we really got to have a plan. I've rather fallen into a lot of what I was doing, although I've always known what I've enjoyed, and teaching is one of those things I've enjoyed. So I kind of always knew I was headed there. I did a lot of educating when I was a nurse. It's a natural progression, and we had to. I trained in the UK, and you had to educate those coming up behind you. Here in Australia, it's different. But in the UK, we were all educated. We were all offered education, and we all had to share it with the next generation of nurses. So here in Australia, of course, they have the grad program. So that's why I have the grad program, except mine's changed now, where it's observation and discussion with me. So that's changed again. But everything's evolving, isn't it? Everything's evolving, everything's changing. So just my business evolves and my business has changed. And that's what, it's that maybe that's another episode. Maybe that's our next episode will be talking about that continuing education and that professional development. So I think that's where this goes from here. It's not just where am I going, but how am I going to get there? So let's talk about that in the next episode, because this is the bite-sized podcast after all, so we don't want to have too much of a mouthful. So same rules apply. Subscribe, like, 5-star review if you feel like it. Always easy to do those. Just scroll down, find the stars, make sure you reach to the 5. Don't like anything less than 5. Because you always know, like there's a 1 there. I've got a 1-star review and no comment or anything. It's just someone being horrid. So you know, don't you? Anyway, but now it's time to go. And I want you to have the very best rest of day. And really enjoy yourself, whatever it is you're doing, however long the day may be for you. If it's time to go to sleep, go to sleep. And if it's not, go and do what you want to do and achieve what you have planned today to achieve. And I'll catch you on the next cast. See ya.